Well, good morning again, everyone. Today is Ask Reverend Elizabeth Sunday. So you each got a card in your bulletin, and if you would pull out that index card, and there are pens in the seat pockets in front of you, or if you have a pen on you, you get to ask whatever question you would like to ask today. We're going to create the service together. So let's take a moment to begin with and just settle in and see if your inner guidance, your spirit, is speaking to you and has a question or a topic that you would like to know about today. That if you could ask God, the universe, a wise person, maybe me, I'd like to know more about this today in the spiritual realm. What would you like to know? And put that down on your card. And we're going to hand those in, and as you've got one, just hand it into the center, and Karen and Mary, our ushers today, will pick up your cards and bring them up to me, and I will do my best to get through all of them and to answer them, or give you some things to think about as you go home. So, how often do you get to go to church and have exactly what you wanted to hear spoken up front? Well, today is the day that you get that. So, whatever it is that's on your heart, that's on your mind about the church, religion, this church, my path, whatever it is that you'd like to know about, we'll get some questions going. So I know we've got a couple up front that I will grab and bring them to the back. Got some more. We need some more pens. Anybody missing a pen? All right, and if you get something, you get an inspiration, a question comes to you a little bit later, just kind of, give a signal that you've got one in the back over there, and we will get the questions brought up front. And as I get ready to do the questions, getting them all in the same order, I'd like to let you know who was that woman who did the meditation, you might be wondering. I am so excited that my prayer partner and a friend from seminary, Reverend Diana Kennedy, she's in visiting me this weekend in Arturo, and so that's who did the meditation. So say hi to my friend, Reverend Diana Kennedy. She actually serves Big Unity. She works at Unity Worldwide Institute. So if you have any questions about the bigger movement that you'd like to ask her, she's in charge of grants. So she gives money out to church and computers, and she works for Unity Village Chapel doing all sorts of things, and she does art and all sorts of wonderful things. Wow, excellent. We've got a bunch going, so I better stop talking and start talking. Is it okay to play God and put an ailing, suffering pet down? Oh, for whoever it is, if you've got a pet right now, my heart goes out to you, and let us know if we can pray for you. Well, let me say this, I have. So I've put several pets down. Actually, I've put every pet down. They haven't died naturally in my house. And so we look at it, I tend to look at it as reducing suffering. It's so hard to do, almost harder sometimes than losing a person, because they're so innocent, right? They're just so sweet. So whoever you are, that's what's going on. I can see the look on everyone's face here. How many have put a pet down? Yeah, oh, I feel such goosebumps. So yes, do what's right for you. There is no one right answer on things that are difficult like this. So listen into Spirit, and if Spirit is saying, you can help this soul along and reduce some suffering, know that, you're in good company. Many people in this room are doing the same thing. In the time I've been here, we've had a number of those. Everything happens for a reason. Is this really true? Isn't this a horrible thing to say to someone who just went through a traumatic experience? Yes, that is a unfortunate thing to say to somebody that's gone through. So if you in the room have just gone through a traumatic experience or know someone who is, thank you for bringing the light onto something that I think well-meaning people do, trying to make sense of it. And this is what I've learned, that when someone is going through a really hard thing, the most important thing to do is to show compassion. That you could be a brilliant theologian. You could be really good at unity teachings, and that's wonderful. But the time for that is not when someone has lost, someone has been attacked, has gotten a diagnosis. Because that's not a time that we're in theology. We're in our heart then. We need to know that people love us and that we're cared for and that there is a way through this with love and support of others, no matter what the outcome. So, does everything happen for a reason? If you're going through trauma right now, now is not the time to look at that question, even though you want to ask it. What instead you could ask yourself is, what could I do to feel better, to get some love, to get some hope, to get some care? Focus on self-care first. And then when you're out of trauma is a time when you look at, well, does God do this to me? P.S. No. God does not do mean things to people. Is there an order to life? It sure seems like it, doesn't it? When I change my consciousness, things seem to change. But I don't do that to blame myself. I do that to say, what do I want to do going forward? So when you're not in trauma is a time to explore, how do I think life works? I think if I change these thoughts, I see an effect, but yet I don't see one over here. There seems to be a mystery to life. No one's figured it all out, or we all wouldn't be sitting here, right? So there still seems to be some mystery, even with our great teachings, that we'll do this and this and this, and you'll get this and this and this, except when you don't. So study that. Ask those deeper questions when you're not in hurt. What was the biggest spiritual lesson which caused you the most growth? Well, let me ask you, do you think it was an easy time in my life or a hard time in my life? It was the hard times, yeah. I've had great learning from the good times, and I used to think that the bad times were optional. I now know they're not. They still come. So I'm not sure if I could put just one, pick like the top one, but I think about, for sure, going through my divorce. So anyone that's going through that right now, my heart goes out to you, because I had no idea before that how difficult that would be. I just thought I needed to try harder in my marriage, and it turned out that didn't do it. So divorce was one of the hardest times. And I'm excited to say that you come out the other side, even before I met Arturo, my second husband, 15 years, and it's his birthday today. Guess where we're going? Wrigley Field. Yeah, exactly. You know my husband, you know that's his birthday dream. So yeah, the divorce was definitely hard. But the greatest spiritual growth actually was going to seminary. Actually, now that I think about it, my gosh. They put you through the ringer, it's like going to boot camp. They kind of beat you down, not really, but spiritually, they kind of tear you all up and say, what do you really believe, and prove it. And then you build yourself back up. So a deep spiritual study was actually the greatest spiritual growth. So keep coming back here, keep taking classes, keep reading the books and staying on the path. And you will have the great news is, you'll have the tools to handle the challenges better. Even if it's 1% better, it'll make a difference. How to tap into the courage to take first spiritual steps to act on God's guidance. And by the way, thank you to all you people with big handwriting. I really appreciate that. And the clean handwriting. How to tap into the courage to take first spiritual steps to act on God's guidance. So what I hear in that question is fear, right? I'm afraid to do what Spirit seems to be telling me to do. It's a similar question I got in the first service, so let me use the same example. I used to get really concerned about God's guidance about my career. God was my career counselor, and I was waiting for God to tell me which job should I take if I had 2 jobs to choose from, or 2 majors to choose from in college. This was very serious business, especially when it came to my career, right? Oh, that's where my money, my success, my identity. So I'm like, one of these is going to be the good path, and one of these is the path to ruination. Which job do I pick? That's how serious I took it at times. And which path is God on? Both paths. Whatever choices we're facing, whatever God's guidance seems to be and whatever not God's guidance seems to be, God is on both paths. You're knowledge, your wisdom, the wisdom of the universe is in both of them. One may end up being a little easier at times, but it also may not give you as big a payback. But the other one, so sometimes it's just a matter of degree, but black and white thinking will make us think this is God's guidance and this is the not God. The devil, which we don't call devil, but the ego. A lot of times it's ego versus spirit, what we're really saying here. Am I, my small self, wanting to do this, or is my bigger, expansive self? So one question to ask, which guidance is it? Well, does it make me feel big, or does it make me feel small? That's a clue. And to have the courage is to get over fear, right? It's to get over the fear. And so take a look at what that fear is. I thought if I took this job, well, what could happen? I could lose that job if it's the wrong job. Okay, well then what? Well, then I'd find another job. Oh, so it's maybe not so scary. Or I could try a method of treatment for something that's happened. What if I try that and it doesn't work? Well, then I'll stop that and I'll try another method. And sometimes I know it's not that simple. You make a big decision like selling a house or something and you think, oh, yeah, but that's the big one. But how many of us have had setbacks with money, with houses, with careers, and gotten over them? How many of us have gotten over it? You sold the house at the wrong time, you took the wrong job, and you got over it. So when you look at the big picture of life, the fear can dissipate some when you realize, look at all the right and wrong choices I've made, and I still got through. I still got through. And so, get someone to partner you on. That's a great way if you're worried about doing that. Get a friend who's a buddy that you need some courage to step out in that. Start with a small step. If you're afraid to take a step that, God seems to want me to be a painter. Well, why don't I start with a painting class and let's just see what happens. I don't have to quit my job. I don't have to move to Italy. Maybe I could start with a small step. And then that reinforces your brain chemistry and your neurons saying you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. How to find new friends. Yes. Well, guess what I'm going to say first? Here, a place to find new friends. I'm looking around and I see 50 or 60 people that would make wonderful friends. You already know they're on the spiritual path. You know they can kind of talk your language. So stay after church for fellowship. Sign up to come to the potluck. Take one of the classes. It's a great time when we take classes to talk to people at the tables. On Sunday we do our best, but people are coming and going and moving. But fellowship is a wonderful place to start to get to know people. Another wonderful thing to do at this church is to volunteer. We are always letting you know we have an opening on the usher team. Karen and Mary, do you meet people when you're ushering? Yes, you do. That's right. So you want to get to know people. Be at that door back there. Instant way to get to know people. Women's group. Thank you. Thank you, Jeanette, who is part of the women's group, and Brenda, who's part of the women's group, and Pat, who's part of the women's group. Come to the women's group when that meets. They're picking up again in January. Also, Monday morning metaphysics. David.
A lot of volunteer opportunities are outside the church.
Yes, and I was just going to say, and then everything that I've said here applies outside the church. Volunteering, definitely one of the best ways. Find a book group. If you're of a certain age, the senior centers, a great place to plug in, right, Celeste? You are part of the senior center.
Meetup.com.
Meetup.com. Yeah, find a group that is doing meditation or a book study or yoga that you're doing. Another one from David.
Go back to college.
Oh.
People who are young enough to be my grandchildren want to socialize.
Thank you.
With me outside of school.
Go back to college. The people that are watching the video, go back to college. You're finding younger people who are keeping you alive and teaching you how to run your iPhone. Yes. To college. What is Unity's take on the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to grow consciousness. The purpose of life is to expand the inner world first. To know thyself, to find a place of stillness, to be on that spiritual path. And then that has an impact on how you live your life. So that we're making a better us, better consciousness. It affects everyone around us because we're connected, right? If we believe in one presence, one power, what I'm doing affects everyone. And then it follows that my actions start to change so that I'm a better person in life. I also like what Eckhart Tolle says on this topic. Eckhart Tolle says you have an inner purpose and an outer purpose. And your inner purpose is to do your inner work, and we all have the same inner purpose: to grow, to become better, to become more self-aware. Your outer purpose, what you do in your life, that could be totally different. It could be something, it could be anything. We all have a different outer purpose. We all have the same inner purpose to grow in consciousness. So thank you for being here on a Sunday. That's what you're doing. Are these all written too? Okay. Can we end offertory prayer with praise, thanks? Sorry, I should get my, you know what, I'm going to set that aside and get my glasses for the small one. How to develop a prayer partnership. How to pray, how does prayer affect you, Elizabeth, I think. How has prayer affected you? So much. Thank you. Their suffering just ended. For you and for me. Okay. How to develop a prayer partnership? Does it say a play or prayer? We're just going to assume it says prayer, and how has it affected me? Great. Well, big plug for my prayer partner who's here this week. So if you can connect with somebody in class right now, we've created small prayer groups that they're praying for each other in our healing class. So look for someone in the church or a friend that you have that's spiritual, or come to the Tuesday night meditation group. Find a place where you can connect and then approach someone. You know, it's like making friends. It helps if you're the one to make the initiation. You know, when I was 5, 8, 10 years old, down in Downers Grove, there was a skating rink. And I always remember every winter we would get our skates and I would go there and I would skate around and I would find some and I would say, would you be my friend today? And then we would hold hands and we'd skate around 55th Street Pond. Used to do that every winter. Whoever was there was going to be my friend, and I made, as an extrovert, the first move. So I know introverts, that's not as easy. Maybe send an email to someone. Hey, I'm looking for a prayer partner. Would you be interested? So, and you have now an excuse to say, we talked about it on Sunday, how helpful it is to have a prayer partner. Because that way you make sure you're praying. If you set it up, say, once a week, at least once a week you're stopping. You're getting some prayer. Like coming here, at least once a week, I'm getting 5 to 8 minutes of meditation. At least I'm getting a positive message once a week. So a prayer partner, very, very powerful. And keep it simple. Don't make it an accountability partner. That's different. This is a safe person, a safe place. And you can practice by coming up to our prayer chaplains and see how they pray. This can be a 5-minute call. And so I know that knowing that Diana and I, and we've fallen off in the last couple of months, so this is our reminder, so we'll commit to get back onto our weekly call. So there. Now you can get back on, get a weekly call. And so it has made a huge difference. And I was just at a retreat. You know, how has prayer made a difference in your life? There was a group of people that were praying for all of us coming to the retreat. And I tell you, the week before that retreat, I felt like I was walking on water. I knew there were like probably a couple hundred people praying for us because we were coming to this retreat to have a good experience. And I felt like I was walking on water. And I know for sure when I call Silent Unity's prayer line, blows me away every time. I feel so peaceful. So 1-800-NOW-PRAY. 1-800-NOW-PRAY is our prayer line, and call that anytime. It will definitely help shift your consciousness. Now, can we end offertory prayer with praise, thanks, such as I praise God, I give thanks, and I am glad? Okay, well, we have just added an offering blessing at the end. So let me know if that's what you're thinking. But we are now having the offering come up front, giving thanks for it. And you may be talking about having everyone say it. I'm not sure. So Send me an email if I'm misreading that and there's more to it, but we are now giving thanks and acknowledging the offering at the end as well as the beginning. Will there be justice from God for all the evil people in the world, such as government leaders who lie and hate others? Don't we all secretly want to ask that question? Even like, oh, I know spiritually I'm not supposed to say that, but gosh, justice, yes. Well, okay, well, let's go back to lesson number 1, which is life is consciousness. So first, if real life, if the real thing is about consciousness and internal and your soul development, do we all pay the price for hatred? So internally, certainly, a life of hatred, whether we see it or not, is making a difference in that person's life. So you could call that karma. You could call that, even if you don't believe in karma, just as a person lives, do they reap the effects of that? Most of the time, yes. Now, sometimes it doesn't always look like that to us. They may be people that have lots of money, or seem to be happy, or have power, or something like that. And yet, when we think about how many powerful, rich people have ended up committing suicide, illnesses, estranged families, all sorts of things, it seems that very often there is already an effect in their life. And even if there isn't, we know that when we act that way, what it does to us. So somewhere on some level it's doing that. Now, is there an ultimate judgment about that? Will this bad person, just kind of pay for it forever in hell or in wherever? Now, we don't tend to believe in a place of hell here, do we? We most of us here in Unity believe in hell as a consciousness, heaven and hell, right here on earth as we're believing it. We don't believe that there is something so bad that sets someone off forever that they can never be redeemed, so to speak. That if we are all the same at our core, if we are the same, then every single person is on a journey of some sort. And some we see the journey and we see redemption and we see turnaround, and some we don't. And how about for your life? Are there some aspects of your life that you feel like, boy, I've really done well here. I'm spiritual, I've forgiven. And then maybe there's someone in your life that you haven't and you're kind of stuck on. And you could say, yeah, but see, that's not a great behavior. Am I going to pay for that for the end of time? Well, we say you're going to pay for that as long as you hold on to it. As long as you want to hold on to that, you can pay for that. Now, some of us believe in reincarnation. You don't have to, but that we continue to learn and to grow, and especially when you believe in that this simple life, one doesn't seem enough. Like there's got to be more to it, that you keep trying and you keep getting better. And there are just people in this world that do bad things. They do harmful things. They just do in this life. In this level of advancement that we are at, we've come a long way. And we still do harmful things. We cheat, we manipulate, we murder, we do all sorts of things. And so for us, we live in the knowing that that's still happening, but we're still on the right path. We're still doing what we can to raise everybody up, even though not everyone will be there. And this is a hard thing, I know, especially if you've been directly impacted. You want that person to pay. And then I think about people that have forgiven horrific acts. The Amish that forgave the shooter that came in and killed the school children. Like if they can forgive that, then couldn't everything be ultimately forgiven? And that we can each have our experience to try to overcome. And so evil is one of the hardest things for us to deal with. And I say in my class, I like to start with the spectrum. Like there are little bad things that we do, all the way up to the really evil things that we can do. And so think about things that you might think aren't any big deal, but someone else does. So who draws the line? of where we're going to put them. If we can't all agree, and people are doing things because of the way that they've been brought up, the way they're wired, the way their circumstances are, not an excuse, but an understanding. So if we can understand evil actions, we have a better chance of trying to avoid them in the future. In case there is anything that is contributing in our world, we can be the light to help lift it up. Not a question that I can wrap up with a perfect answer for you. What is Unity's view on the plagues that happened in Egypt? Well, we look at both the historical and the metaphysical. There may have been actual plagues back, there certainly have been plagues in our lifetime. So whether it happened exactly like that, there are things that come and wipe us out, right? Cholera, TB, there are plagues that beset us. There are plagues in our lives, right, that happen to us. You know, like someone at our job could be a plague some days. So they happen. They happen metaphysically and they happen physically. You know, you might have been hit by the flu, which is sort of a modern day plague in a way. There are people that die every year from the flu. So yes, they happen. And so they're there in the story number one to show us that this is a human story. Yeah, these people didn't get away with just this perfect life. So we can take some solace in the fact that every group of people are going through their challenges and then how did they come through them. And we can also look at it that this was probably, these stories were written by a persecuted people. They were persecuted. They had gone through a lot of suffering. And so when they finally made their way out, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, the story is that finally something came along and it took a big upset of a plague for them to be freed out into the wilderness, which wasn't such a picnic, was it? But sometimes it takes a catastrophic thing to happen. And sometimes it's its own form of social justice, isn't it? That, hey, sort of like the previous question, the bad guys finally got what was coming to them. But then when you think about it from a bigger perspective, gee, a lot of innocent people might have gotten hurt too. This plague affected a lot of people. So remember always that we're talking about stories, we're talking about myths, we're talking about heroes' tales. And so, you know, the hero usually gets one up on their persecutor. Love, why does it sometimes seem so elusive? Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Where does love come from? Where does love come from? Within us. I mean, most of us want to go here, right? We want to go to our heart. Love is a harmonizing power. Love is what brings, love will keep us together. Love is what brings things together and bonds them. It's not a thing in a box, it's a force. It's a force. The force is with you. The force. Love is everywhere. Show me a place where love isn't. It's God. It's another word for God. Now, if we're talking about affection, affection can seem elusive if you don't have a partner, perhaps. So you come here and you get 12 hugs a day. You come here and you get some hugs. So why is love elusive? The first thing I would do is work on giving more love. They say whatever you're lacking, start giving. You're lacking money, start being generous. You're lacking time, totally the opposite of what you think. Give time to someone else. And then perhaps you reprioritize your time. So love, if it seems elusive, that's just a cry of your heart to go within, to find the love that you have, and to share it with others. And then watch how it comes back, because in giving it, you feel it. And it's all an inside job. A couple more, maybe I won't get quite to all of them. Any tips on remaining patient? Anybody? Anybody? Tips on patience. Who's got it? What is it? Breathe. Breathe. I see heads nodding. Trust. Trust. Faith. What else do you do to be patient? Mike.
I would work on affirmations.
Great. Affirmations. Affirmations. Changing the message. Patience is about sort of a monkey mind, isn't it? I gotta. When is it? When is it? When is it? Right now, right here, all is well. Anything else on patience, Angela?
This.
Oh, this. We learned this, there's a handout out there, worry fast. So you grab your thumb or your finger, depending on if you're worried, fearful, angry, sad, or trying too hard. So you calm yourself. Okay, and you can read more about that. There's a handout. Hal, what about you?
Be still and know that I am God.
Be still and know that I am God. Do that right now. Whatever impatience we now have is released to the nothingness from which it came. Be still and know that I am God. Namaste.
Let's just breathe in a moment. I invite you to keep your eyes closed, or close them if you have not yet. And just breathe into this idea. I am that I am. I am that I am. And we drop our awareness fully into our heart space, letting go of any mental clutter, any thought from our day, any thought about what shall come after the service today, and fully bring ourselves to this now moment, remembering that truth. I am that I am. Whatever God is, I am. Whatever God is, I am. God is love, I am love. God is peace, I am peace. God is wisdom, I am wisdom. God is joy, I am joy. God is well-being, I am well-being. Whatever God is, I am. God is, I am. God is, I am. Affirming the truth of who we are as a child of God, we bask in the energy of spirit, just allowing every cell, every organ, and every tissue to be rejuvenated and restored and renewed as we remember that whatever God is, we are. And so we affirm once again, God is, I am. Let us say it together. God is, I am. Again, God is, I am. And one more time. God is, I am. We rest in this truth. We rest in the silence. For the opportunity to worship together, for the opportunity to affirm these truths, and for all the blessings in our life. We are so grateful, and And we say, thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. And so it is.